We want people to walk in and see it in different phases of construction. We want them to be able to touch it, look at it, and answer the questions in their mind is like, is this what we want? Because if it's not, best time to figure that out is now.
For you, and I don't know what you tell people now, I think I would never tell anybody 5 or 6 months.
I love that. I told you when we got on here, I want all the real hard honesty. Now, the ability to have that feedback and navigate through the challenges and the obstacles of this area and the challenges and obstacles of just a new area in general has helped us master it to where we can now go into new markets with way more strategy and launch a little more effectively than we did when we did this. If you're listening to this and you own a business, you cannot run away from a conflict or an issue or a problem. You need to lean into it, understand what's going on, attack it the best you can, and know that at some point you're going to get to the final destination. All right, guys, so we're doing a little back porch sitting down here in Summerville, South Carolina with Marty and Jen Dippel. So thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Taking an afternoon to show this place off a little bit and also just to kind of chat through the process of building. We do a ton of content. We do a ton of episodes. There is nothing that provides more good, relevant feedback to our client base than actually talking to previous customers. So I'm always thankful when you guys, invite us in to do something like this, and it's awesome. We were joking before we got on here about last time I was here, it was just red dirt and, fight for a CO. And now you guys have turned it into a home, right? It went from just a Barndo sitting out here in the woods to a home, and it looks beautiful. Like you guys did a great job. I guess kick it off would say, like, how did you find us when you decided to build with us?
I don't even remember.
I think we decided that we liked this style of construction, the look of the building, the house. And I'm pretty sure we just did a internet search, just builders in South Carolina, barndominium builders in South Carolina. I'm pretty sure that's how we found you.
You guys came in through the web. That's
Yeah.
common. I mean, we do a lot of work to make that happen.
Yeah, we talked to some local builders first, and their cost per square foot was low 200s, 220, 225 and up. And that just wasn't going to work for our budget. So,
right.
We knew in theory this was a more affordable building method. And, that I think that's how we came to Barndominium and then to you.
Yeah. And then when you guys came with us, we didn't even have an office in the Lowcountry at that point in time.
No, we came out to Greenville.
Yeah, you guys came up to Greenville. I think you guys
That was
actually
the first onboarding that you all had done.
Yeah, you were the first. Yeah, the first deal down this way, and put the hunt on me to figure out how we were going to get down here and grow, because we had so many people calling from the area, from Columbia to Charleston. And we were just trying to figure out how in the world can we service that area, and so we came down here looking for space, and then I remember you guys onboarding, and then I think you guys actually came to one of our OBX events.
The first one.
The very first
one.
OBX.
Yep.
And, talk about that a little bit. That was a unique experience that no one has now, right? So nobody gets to come in and go through an OBX because it's too big of a company now to facilitate something like that. But that was a fun time. Then you guys came up all the way to the upstate,
Right.
and kind of got to go tour some properties, hear a little bit about who we were as a company. We rent a tour bus.
Right.
And were you guys on the one where the tour bus broke down?
Yes,
Yeah.
We were on that bus.
That was our bus.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes, right? I get a phone call like, this is going so good. Then the bus broke down.
Not so much.
That's awesome. So, so you guys did this and then started designing the plan and ended up building this Aspen.
Right.
And broke the internet. Like this home gets so much viewership. Like every time we post it, people go crazy over it. So kudos to that. Like,
thank you.
It's all him.
Right, the designs and the selections, like it all tied in so nice. But talk a little bit about the process. So you guys found land.
We found the property September of 22, I guess it was.
Yep.
And then
22.
So that was like September.
And we had been looking for about a year almost, I think, because we were still, checking in with you all and making sure everything was going to go okay, and just hadn't found what we liked yet. So,
Yeah, so we found the property. We did the onboarding. I think we had picked out this model, really, I think we had decided on it before we came out, but we picked the model. And once we had the property, of course, there was, issues with where does the house sit, the grading and everything. But, I think we thought that we had an idea what we wanted to do. So
Right.
we did the onboarding. It was great. I mean, I think being able to see the houses was really important to us. Just to get an idea for, what it was sort of going to look like at least.
Right.
And we've continued to let people see the house. I mean, we've gotten messages, phone calls, how safe that is. But we've had, you can sort of tell who's good, who's not. But we've had people, as recently as a couple months ago, stop by to take a look at it. They had questions, and I'm not sure if they became customers or not, but
Right.
We just felt that was really important. I don't know how you can build something without, at least walking through something.
Yeah.
Well, and that was my biggest hesitation. Like we never saw one till we came up there and did the onboarding. So I'm like, what, is this going to look like just some garage that we're living in or whatever? I'm like, I want it to be pretty. And I just remember the first time when I pulled up and everything was on, I was just like, oh my God, this is just incredible. I'm like, it just blew me away.
Yeah, well, and the fun part for us is like we do a ton of site visits. Like we constantly are taking people in the field because in the beginning it was to kind of show off what we had done, right? We wanted people to see our work, and that's part of it. The bigger part of it now is um making sure that it's the right thing, right? Like we want people to walk in and see it in different phases of construction. We want them to be able to touch it, look at it, and answer the questions in their mind is like, is this what we want? Because if it's not, it's the best time to figure that out is now before you get started.
Right.
Let's go ahead and disqualify it. And so we open up every weekend. There's multiple events taking place and hundreds of people going through properties all over the Southeast now where we're building. But what's fun is not everybody that's in the process ever toured one. We get a lot of people that just call in, they onboard, they get started. They've never seen one ever, and they don't care. But the people who did, I'd say 80% of them, once we're building theirs, they open their home up to let people come because it was such a big deal for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then it's fun too because you get to see people get oogly eyes over what you're building. So no, I really appreciate that. We showed this house endlessly in the beginning because
we finally had to say enough was enough because we got to a point where it was almost done. It's like, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore.
Yeah, well, you were the only gig in town at first,
Right,
and
right.
And then literally every time we post a picture, people would lose their mind over this home, and so it was just a hot commodity, and everybody wanted to come and see this place, and so yeah, I would say in the last year, the 50-something houses in the Summerville area, probably 48 of those people came to this house to make a decision. So it was a big deal for us to be able to show it off. But talk a little bit like move-in day, right? So we won't talk about the move-in day. You're finally in the home. You're getting in the home. Like, what was that like?
Exhausting.
We moved down here, I guess, like 6.5 years ago. So I was a little younger then, and I figured, okay, a move's a move. It took longer to sell our other house than we thought. So we finally got it sold, and then we had, the weeks and weeks leading up to getting that house listed. We were cleaning, we were painting, we were cleaning up, all the things you do to get a house ready for sale. So we got through all that, listed the house, and then we had to sort of start all over again, then to pack and move, which we did in, a day or two.
Yeah.
And then I think 2 days later, a day later, whatever it was, then the movers came to move that aquarium that you saw inside. That was on my birthday. I got it moved. I got it mostly put together, and I sat down in that recliner in there and just fell sound asleep. And I was out till the next morning. It was exhausting. It really was.
So you guys moved in like December of 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, over the last, year and few months, really have turned this place into home. So what's it like now that you're living in this thing, and obviously it's got to be a conversation piece, right?
Hmm.
Friends, family, anybody comes over, right? They're probably asking you questions about it. What's that like living in it now that you're in it, right? We'll get to the nitty gritty part, the part that's the process to get to that part, but
Hmm.
that part, just living here, is it what you hoped it would be?
I think it is. I mean, I enjoy it. I love where we are. We're not stuck in a big community anymore, and we he has worked very hard at doing the landscaping, and um I got my piece right here, the pool, and he's got his garage, and
We're good.
it's good. I enjoy it, and it is fun talking about people, when they come in and they're asking questions, or a lot of people in my office will be like, "Well, she lives in a barndominium," and they're like, "A what?" And then they want to know questions, and so we try to give them as much information as possible. But it's nope, I love it.
Now, I used to joke with people when I was, in the beginning, when I was doing every sale of like, a lot of times you build a home and then you go find that one conversation piece. But when you build this, like it is the conversation.
Yeah.
Sure.
People have questions. You talked about the landscaping and this guy working super
Well,
hard.
I was literally miserable the first couple months we were here. It's not that I didn't like the house.
Right.
It was a mud pit,
Yeah.
Right.
and nothing was going right outside. It wouldn't shed water properly. It was a mess.
Yep.
And we have 2 dogs, so we built a little area out in the breezeway area, for them to go
Temporarily.
do
Yeah.
their business. They still like going out there today, sometimes more than the yard, I think. But I have a tad of OCD, maybe I've been told. So I just didn't.
Just a little.
It was terrible. I mean, every time it rained, I was just like be on edge. So when it got warm last year, this time, um, I remember the first thing I did was put the 2 gardens in on either side of the front porch. I figured I had to start somewhere, and it was like overwhelming because there was nothing. And I've, you know, moved into a bunch of houses over the years. We bought a bunch of houses, but they've all been finished houses with landscaping, that I would improve or change, but I had something to work with. This was a blank canvas. And, I was going to have a landscape designer come in and do this and that. And I said, no, I've done this enough. I can do it. So I just sort of bit it off in little pieces and, um, put some gardens in, ordered the first 5 pallets of sod. After the first pallet, we realized that we couldn't lay 4 more pallets of sod. Luckily, we found help
We
for
got
that.
through a half a pallet.
We
I
got
think,
through a half a
before
pallet.
we decided.
And it was probably just still April. It wasn't hot. I mean,
No.
we were dead. It's like this. So we found some help to lay the sod. We just sort of went from there. But it was just picking a starting point, really.
Well, you bring up a good point because it's a process to build, right? And we don't find ourselves in communities building. That we do occasionally. Most of the time, it's your story. Hey, we found some land, right? We're ready to build on this land. We come in and we build a home, and like it's not like again a quarter acre lot where you throw out some seed and it's done. It's a development here, right? Like you're really got a lot going on. You're off the road a little bit. You have more yard and more space, and you know that those finishing touches. And you kind of talk about it a little bit in the beginning and in the onboarding, and you walk through that of like, hey, driveway options, and then the landscaping options, and we always tell people you can handle that piece yourself. It is cheaper if you do. And literally no one ever wants to do it. They spend all their money on upgrades in the home, right? They spend their money in their kitchen, their bathroom, flooring, those kind of things. And then like landscaping, they're like, nah, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. It'll be great. It ain't a big deal. We'll just
Easy, yeah.
we'll throw some straw and some seed out. It'll be great. In the Southeast, you got red dirt and red mud, and it's just you end up with a pit, right? And you don't think about it until you're in it. And so everybody that we talk to, now some people are just crazy landscape people that's what they live for, and they're out there planting grass and trying to put flowers in during construction, and we're like, hey, we're gonna kill all of this.
Right.
Let us get at least a little further along before we do this. But for the overwhelming majority of people, that final little mist of straw and seed is it. And then they move in, and then it dawns on them. Oh wow, we have 2 or 3 acres here that we've got a landscape.
Well, and for me, I mean, and landscaping, gardening is one of my hobbies. I love doing it. And I completely, I think, overestimated what it was going to take. And I don't mind saying I'm 63 now. And, I thought to myself, when we decided to do this, can I still, handle all that? I mean, not, I think now that it's done, yeah, I'm not worried about taking care of it. But, can I put in a fence? Can I put in all those gardens? Can I lay sod? And it's like, yeah, I think I can still do it. I think I overestimated the amount of effort, the amount of time, and what it was going to cost. I mean, like the house, I think for the most part, we were spot on for the budget. I'll never not take the advice of someone like you when you tell me about grading or about how many loads of dirt, or I think we were talking earlier about somebody put their own driveway in. And it was a cost consideration because, we weren't tapped out, but we were spending a lot of money. It's like, yeah, I'll get those things after the fact. And I'm sure I saved some money by doing it. But, with hindsight being 2020, it took a lot of dirt to make it right. So you really need to think about those things, I think, when you're planning, when you're getting ready to build. And probably if you're building a $500,000 house, you better think about, a 10% push
Budget.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. For overages, for overruns.
For sure.
'Cause you're gonna have them.
And the variable is how much land do you have?
Right.
How long's your driveway? Yeah, that was good. It's good feedback, right? Everybody we talk to, that's the one thing that they go back and say, man, I ate my lunch. It's a lot. And they're coming from a neighborhood setting to a rural setting, and it's just a lot more, right? A lot more upkeep, a lot more to put it all in. So let me ask you this. You went through the onboarding process, you picked out the plan, you did all the modification. That's the fun part, right? Like that's fun. It's all dreaming and visualization. Then you get to the point where it's time to go. Deposits paid, it's time to break ground, and then construction starts. And construction is a long, arduous process. There's a lot of ups and downs in that. So going back, and I want to ask each of you specifically. So this episode is sponsored by the Barndo Co. You can visit us online at thebarndoco.com and get started building your dream barndominium today. We specialize in build on your lot turnkey barndominium solutions. We have a whole gallery of plans that you can explore through. You can also go full custom route. You can get in touch with us through the website by filling out the contact us form, and one of our Barndo professionals will reach out to you, get your dream started today. What was the single worst part for you going into it blind? And if you were to articulate it to someone starting the process, like this caught me off guard and this drove me insane building new construction, what would that be?
I'll let you go first.
Oh gosh, I don't even know.
Well, Marty's loaded. He's like, I got mine.
I know he does.
Well, I made you miserable because I would get angry and then I would take it out on you, which wasn't fair. And
I think
we get angry
part,
regularly.
But the first part goes so quick. Like the foundation comes in and the forms and everything is poured and you're like, man, and then the studs are going up and that's like bam, 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 bam. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, where did I go? Like, are they coming back?
It does slow down. That's a very good point.
I grew up around real estate and construction my entire life. So it's like in the back of your mind, this, but you're like, well, this is my house. Where are you guys? It's 8:30 and you're still not here yet, But I think that was it. But I mean, overall, it's just you have to have patience and you have to try to, not get so frustrated and, be in touch. I mean, fortunately, he was able to be on hands a lot, which I think was very helpful. So, I think it's just at first it seems to go so quick and then all of a sudden it's like the reins get pulled back, and that's not to anybody's fault, right? It's just that's how the process is. So, but it was fun. This was my first time ever having a brand new home. So, it was a lot for me. I was just like, well, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Ask him.
No, it's good. It's common, right? And it is a little bit of a hurry up and wait. And the cool thing about Barndo is that initial phase for us goes super fast with framing. And then it starts to have that lull effect, and you realize, oh wait, yeah, no, that it is going to be a long process.
Right.
You get so hopeful, and that first
Mm-hmm.
that first 30-day run, you're like, oh man,
They're going to be done in no time.
we
Man,
might
we're
as
gonna
well
be
go
in
ahead and
here
start
before
picking
you
out
know it.
furniture.
Yeah, and I think if you had all of the trades at your beck and call, like some builders do,
Yeah.
and you could just bring one trade in after the next, yeah, I'm sure you could probably build it in 4, 5, 6 months.
Yep.
And I think one of the things for me was probably setting some unrealistic expectations, because I think you said 6 months. You know, Cliff, who was our project manager, you know, said, oh, I'll build it in 5 or 6 months. And then, you know, 5 became 6, became 7, became 9, and we weren't close. And that was frustrating. But we onboarded right before the holidays, right before
2
Christmas.
weeks before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so Thanksgiving, I think we had the plans and had money to our deposit, you know, right before or after Christmas. So then we got into the new year. If you remember, we had permitting problems because we were the first one in Dorchester County.
Yep.
So that took time. Then we had rain, and then we had some water on the bottom of the property. So we took care of that. You know, we finally got the forms in. We finally got some cement poured. Framing went up pretty quick. And then we had issues passing inspections because you didn't know what they wanted, and they weren't very good at articulating what they wanted. So it was a back and forth, a back and forth. But Jen's right. It was after it was framed and, you know, metal went on, windows went in. It's like, oh, this is really moving along good now. And then it got painfully slow. And we went through a couple project managers, and, you know, I know you had some problems, you know, with some of your subs. You know, things happen. You know, I think for you, and I don't know what you tell people now, I think I would never tell anybody 5 or 6 months. I might start at 9.
Well, no, what I want to speak to that is I love that. I told you when we got on here, I want all the real hard honesty, because there's things at play there, right? One is we talk a whole lot now about present day, right? We get on here and we articulate process, time to get through this, how this operates, what market, how that works. And it comes from being in business now for multiple years in this area, right? When you came, the worst it ever been. And the fact that we can even sit down at a table and have conversation, living through and having endured that, it's the worst it has ever been and ever will be in this market, right? So now it's not uncommon. Still in this area, if you're in this low country area, we would never say 6 months, because it's just really hard. The counties here, from the coast, from Charleston County all the way up through Dorchester, Berkeley County, it's arduous with them, and they do things differently, and there's different soil compositions and the way septics and everything here are. Like, those are things you kind of learn, and so for this area a more realistic timeline of what things look like. There are parts of our service area where we can 100% go from permit to door key inside of 6 months. We've done them as fast as 100 days. That's not, we don't use that language. We're not going to promise anybody that. And we did, you said something about setting bad expectations. We also did that as a young company. We had a pretty good idea of what expectations were where we were, and then moving into new areas. And so those are all things of being a young company, right? We knew at the end of the day, we're going to give you a great product, right?
Sure.
There was no doubt in any of our mind of like what the end result was going to be. But there's a whole lot of not knowing how long it's going to take to get there and what all I was going to encounter. And like, you guys did that. You're in a brand new market, which is still to this day the toughest market to push homes across the finish line in, right? Berkeley County probably being number 1,
right?
Charleston County number 2, and then this county is number 3, right? Like that, it's just tough. And Berkeley County is humongous, and so we know to date, right, 4 years into this thing, this is the hardest market to build this product in. They don't like it. They don't like it because it's different. They don't like that they have to look at something different when they come out here. They're overwhelmed. This is one of the fastest growing areas. All those guys are overworked. I don't think it's personal. I think it's here we go again, right? I got to go out here and look at this stuff that isn't what I'm looking at 9,000 times a week. and I've got to dig into these structurals, and I got to, really challenge myself to go in here and really do this. And in the beginning, they fail anything they looked at because they didn't understand the process. It has got better. We've done a lot of builds here, and so now they kind of know what they're looking at when they look at our builds, because it's just different. But it has improved. Getting good staff down here, getting roots, getting the same culture and core values that you guys witnessed when you came to Duncan for an OBX event to be localized here took a little longer than we anticipated too, because you got a skeleton crew in a new market, all trying to figure it out. They're all new. It's a new system in a new area. And I think there was a lot of pains there. The good thing about it is, for me, is especially with someone like you, I talked to you more in those early days than anybody that I talked to. But you were very hands-on here, right? You would never lose your cool. You would send me.
I wouldn't lose it with you.
You would send me. You would send me like requests, and it was really like, I just want to know,
right?
And it was the most valuable feedback that I could have ever gotten as an owner of a company in a new market with new process and new people to become the best. Because we set out to be that, and we still work, because I don't think there's anybody else. But that was a very low bar, right? Now, the ability to have that feedback and navigate through the challenges and the obstacles of this area, and the challenges and obstacles of just a new area in general, has helped us master it to where we can now go into new markets with way more strategy and launch a little more effectively than we did when we did this. This was Office 2, right? And so I'm thankful for that. Like, every one of the Facebook messages or text messages or late night phone calls was worth it, because it was helping us become what we set out to be, which was to be the best. And you can't run from it. That's why I'm not afraid to talk about any of that. Like, we're here sitting on the back porch of a gorgeous home that people literally fawn over online with just the birds chirping, a little trickle of rain. Like, this is fantastic. And this wouldn't be possible if we hadn't started and made it through that process. And honestly, looking back, 80% of the things that we talked about with you is just the typical stress that a homeowner's experiencing regardless of the system.
Sure.
So even if it would have been done in 5 months, you would have felt 80% of what you felt, just on a different timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that's just growing and doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes versus tens and 20s of homes. But as a business owner, I could tell you this: if you're listening to this and you own a business, you cannot run away from a conflict or an issue or a problem. You need to lean into it, understand what's going on, attack it the best you can, and know that at some point you're going to get to the final destination, and it doesn't have to end with two people that hate each other, right? Like, it doesn't. Like, I feel like it happens all the time because people forgot how to communicate, right?
Yeah.
They just forgot, or they're afraid to communicate. And I've never felt that way. Like, I just never have. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. But like,
COVID changed, I think, everything for everyone. I think people just communicated differently before and after. They act different before and after. And people just never got over that.
Mm-hmm.
And people that reach out to me, they ask about you, they ask about the company. I tell them a couple of things. Number one, building a house is stressful as hell. Number two, I don't think my experience will be your experience because they've been here for over a year now. They had that infrastructure in place, and we had our ups and downs, but in the end, it was fine. And I think it's everything that we talked about. It just took a while to get from A to B.
Yep.
And we're good with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We didn't get an opportunity to start with one. I think you were the first, and then we had 27
Mm-hmm.
on the heels of it. So,
Yeah.
and that's been our cadence everywhere we go.
Right,
It's just,
right.
it's good, but it's also very, very difficult.
Sure.
Let's switch a little bit and talk about what is your favorite thing or feature in the home, right? Because you took it out of a brain, you're talking to a designer, and you're trying to somewhat spec that thing, and then it's done. What was that for you, Marty?
Well, I love the garage, although I really haven't gotten it to where I want it to be. It's sort of been a back burner project.
Well, you're a full-time landscaper. You can't.
Yeah, and it can never be big enough, that's for sure. I like it overall. I like the custom touches. You know, we did the bedrooms a little bit different on the other side. You know, the Jack and Jill bath. I think it's cozy. It's big enough for us, and a couple of guests. I mean, I don't know if I want to raise 2-3 kids here, but I like my space. So I don't think there's anything in particular. I think it's the whole. I mean,
Right.
it just. I mean, we planned it. We picked everything out that went into it. I just think it came together really nicely.
Good.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your favorite feature?
I'm with him. Love the whole house, but my favorite is probably this porch.
Yeah.
You will find me out here the minute it is decent enough to be out here sitting, reading, or in the pool. But no, I don't think that we really thought we would use the porch as much as we really do. I mean,
I certainly didn't.
no, and it's my favorite overall, but I do like the whole house too.
I like it. I love these porches
The
too.
kitchen
I
island.
think it really needed to be screened. I mean, especially in the low country,
Yeah.
bugs are a big issue. And the pool, I didn't want it. I didn't think we needed it. I didn't think I would use it. It was a deal. I wanted the big garage and Jen wanted the pool. So I got the garage. She got the pool. I love the pool. I mean, I really do. I use it a lot more than I thought I would. Probably not as much as she does, but yeah, I mean, but to me, it's the whole package. Really.
Yeah.
All right. If you were to do it again, what would you change?
When?
Yeah. See, I always be closing. Let me and Jen talk. What would you do different, right? Apart from hiring us to do the landscaping, what would you have changed?
You go first.
We do talk about this, but not that there's really not much I think that I would change. One thing would probably be our entrance for the laundry room, maybe making it a tiny bit wider. And there's a light switch that's missing somewhere that we feel like we should have done. It's like you go in and you're like, well, that was never planned. Why am I flicking my finger to turn on a light that's not here? And I think it is in that hallway, but really, there is nothing else. I mean, like he said, it's just the two of us. It's a perfect size. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's an outlet here or there that shouldn't be where it is. There is one light switch that I constantly reach for the switch that isn't there, but it is in that hallway. Like I said to you earlier, you know, I guess if money wasn't an object, I don't think I would have picked a different model. I think I would have tried to pick up a couple feet on either end just to make the rooms a little bit bigger. You know, I kid about the garage. It's a 1,200 square foot garage, but you know, I don't think you can have a big enough garage.
Yeah.
And when I built it, it's like, this is ridiculous. Why did I do this? I don't need it. You can fill it up quick. That's for sure. But other than that, no, I don't think there's, you know, I might position it a tiny bit differently, although I like the way it sits on the lot. You know, I would have brought in more dirt and had done more of that, you know, grading work up front. But no, I mean, I love it.
Everybody that I asked that question to says I would have built bigger. And it is regardless of how big the house is, right? If they build a 1,200, 2,400, or a 5,400 square foot house, first thing is, I think I ought to went a little bigger here.
But our plan was to downsize though.
Yeah.
So, you know, we wanted something a little more compact, a little more manageable.
And I think too, the one thing that a lot of people don't realize that you do, that everybody, when we tell them this, they're like, wow, that's really unique, are the wider doorways.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, because a couple people walk in, they're like, man, these doorways look really wide. And like, yeah, they're made to be a little bit wider. And it's just, you know, that I think that does speak to a lot of people, you know, for.
And I'm sure you don't mind saying why you do that. You have a handicapped child, right?
Yep.
And
so it's just front of mind for us.
Right.
So like now we've been doing it so long, there you'll see like some 2-story options, some different things like that. But the majority of what we build is ranch style, all 1 story. And we do oversized openings and oversized doors and entries everywhere we can. And we design most of our plans with an option to go to a full 3.0 opening interior wise if it's needed. because it is something that's special to me. And Ross in the beginning, it was something that we thought that needed to happen. And another reason that we do so many ranches is because most people have got so accustomed to postage stamp lots, and you build up, and it's been taught that it's cheaper to build up. It's not real, not a true statement. At least not what we do. And so we know that a lot of people that are building with us, they're building that final home, and it's like, hey man, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, and have space upstairs that you can't access or it's uncomfortable to access as you get older, or if you had an accident or have a child that doesn't have the ability to use those steps. And I will never forget that. Like I have a special needs daughter, and she's pretty capable of moving around, but she had a situation where she couldn't. And the house that I was living in, her room was on the second floor. And I literally had to rearrange my entire house, turn my office into a bedroom and all those things. And in doing so, it opened my eyes to how much easier her life is with or without Cass, with or without that being on there. And so it's permanently there now. And so she's forever stayed in that room. And it's just one of those things that most people don't think about. Most businesses are thinking like, hey, what's the standard designs? Let's just copy this or do that. And I think you don't see a lot of ranch designed homes anymore because everybody's trying to build homes on small slivers of land, and that's not our target market. So we really lean back into that old style ranch. So it is something that's really, really big to us. Overall, if you were to give any piece of advice to someone who's perhaps considering building with us, and it could be in regards to the process of things that you want to make them aware to, or at the end of the day, you just said like, hey, you built with us, you had hurdles and challenges, but you still refer us to people. You're in real estate, and you as soon as I walked in, you were telling me about somebody you're referring to us. Why?
I think because we're happy with the house. I think it's a really nice house for the money that we spent. And I think we were very fortunate to come on board when we did, because we got some pretty good pricing, I think. And I know you're $20, $30 more a square foot now. So, I think we got a really good value. With hindsight being 2020, I mean, you forget about the really bad stuff, and as you probably forget about the really good stuff. And I think your experience over time, it dulls. And and I, like you said, I think any builder, any type of house you build, you're going to have issues, and
you just have to have patience.
You just have to have patience, and you did a good job for us. I think we're just happy with the end result.
Yeah. Perfect.
What he said.
What he said. That's the easy way. I guess the final thing will be is what plan are you considering for y'all's next build, Jen?
I'm not too sure yet. A little bit bigger pool.
That's the one after I've passed.
Well, guys, look, I appreciate you taking some time to just sit out here. This house is magnificent.
Thank
you.
It's way fun to be able to come back and sit down with clients and just be friends and talk about it and laugh about things that you wanted to strangle me over in the beginning. But the end product's spectacular.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys supporting us and referring us and talking through those things and for making us better. You made us better in Summerville. And I promise you, people that come into that next in showroom now, which is a whole nother thing it's like, pinch me if I'm real. They're going to have a way different experience. It's because we learned lessons when we moved here of what to do, what not to do, and how to do it better. And we listened to all that feedback. So all of that helped us become the best version of ourselves in Summerville. So I'm thankful for that. And the house turned out beautiful. And I'm so happy that you invited us into your home to come in here and share this with some people. Because this is the thing. They can hear me talk about, this is great. But to hear it from people who hired us, went through the process, and came out the other side of it, it means a lot to them, right? And to hear your experience kind of firsthand. Anything else you want to share about that process?
No, just be patient, expect some overruns, and just be ready for the ride.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.